Hello and welcome to today's edition of the CryptoAM Daily catch-up over virtual coffee, where we talk about COVID-19, the impact on people, on business, on the economy, and about what is going on around the world, what companies are doing, what governments are doing, what level of lockdown they have or isolation, what technology is being used to help or hinder things, and also what are the next steps, what do we think is going to happen next that we can all learn from. So on this call, we get people from all around the world connecting in, from Hong Kong, from Singapore, from the rest of Asia, from America, and it's great to hear from them what is happening in their countries so we can see, well, is that something that's going to happen in the UK, or are things that have happened in the UK or France or Italy that's going to happen there. So it's a great way of sharing and learning from each other. So let's see what happens today and what we discover.
Hey, Gary.
Hey, Fernando, good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, very good. Very good.
Yeah. So a quiet start to the week.
Yes, it was a proper Easter.
Yeah, I always dislike Easter because of the way that normally there's nowhere to go, everywhere's closed, there's no shops open and everything. So it actually felt like an entirely normal day for once. Sure, it kind of makes a change.
I always go away in Easter, actually. This is the first year, like, I don't know, last 10
Okay.
probably. But I tend to go. No, actually, there was a couple of years when my kid was like 1 and 2 years old. We didn't go anywhere.
Okay.
But yeah, in the last 3 years, we actually been down to the coast. Around what's it called? That area?
What, Brighton or something?
No, around Bournemouth, all of that area there. So you've been in
Oh, yeah.
several places.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, last year was brilliant. We actually stayed in a hotel. There was a pool in the hotel. We stayed 5 days there. And
Okay.
the weather was like 24, 25 last year. I don't know if you remember.
Mm.
So,
There's been quite nice at this time of year a couple of times. That's the weird thing, though. Have you noticed just how nice the weather has been
I
since
know.
about March the 14th, I think it is?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Looks like the pollution disappeared. There's a big effect, I think, on the
yep.
planet.
It's certainly interesting. That's where I'm going to be interested to see if the reduction in pollution, which clearly there is, actually has a longer-term impact on temperatures now, because I suspect it's going to have the opposite effect of what everyone thinks. Because I think the climate change people keep saying that if you reduce pollution, you will reduce temperatures. And I think what we're seeing at the moment is exactly the opposite of that. Because as you reduce pollution, you increase the amount of sunlight that gets through to the earth and warms it all up. So I think it's going to be interesting in a few years to be able to look back and see what actually happened to temperatures and did they actually change in any way. We'll see.
Yeah, 2 months is very little in terms of climate, Yes, of course, some impact, but in terms of like looking overall temperatures going up and down, 2 months, I don't think it's enough.
Oh, 2 months, you can only look at weather, you can't look at climate. Because
Exactly.
weather is what's happening, climate is what has evolved over a period of time. So you're absolutely right. 2 months is hardly anything. So
Yeah. That thing about the 5G on the pavement, that is freaking scary, man.
mm,
It really. I mean, I thought they were rolling out only on the masts, like
yeah.
you said, 5-6 meters
Yeah. Well,
masts.
I'm finding it really weird as well because if you look at the Coronavirus Act, so the new legislation that's been passed, that explicitly allows telecoms companies to continue doing work whilst the lockdown is in place, but it specifically only for maintenance and emergency work. But locally near me, a day or so back, there seems to be a massive amount of road repairs going on at the moment, or of cabling going on. And I happened to look at some of the workers who were digging the road up, and they work for a fiber optic company. So I presume it's something to do with telecoms in some way. And so in theory, they should not be allowed to be working if they're laying new cable. If they're repairing stuff, or if it's normal maintenance, then that's fine. So this kind of ties in with this whole theme around telecoms and 5G, that there's definitely some stuff that feels quite strange about it.
Yeah, but if you know the government guidelines is they don't say that you cannot go to work in some of the industries. They say you should avoid going to work. You should go only to work if you have to. Yeah.
Well, they say you should stay at home if you can work from home if that's possible.
Exactly. Laying
But
cables, you cannot stay home. Yeah.
but it is interesting for a legislation to actually have a specific industry called out in it to
Yeah,
say
I
it's
agree.
permitted. So quite strange.
I agree, but their way out is, well, they can't work from home. We have contracts, yeah. We have permissions from the councils
Yep.
that have a period of time. So, for us, is business as usual. And there's no people on the streets, so even easier for us.
Yep.
What can you, the government can't, unless the government strictly forbid them, then they are in their rights to lay down the cables, I
I
don't
agree.
think I don't
Hey,
think we can do anything, but it's honestly, look, I started to look at 5G a while back, and I remember when Huawei was here last year, around October, there was an expo in Excel, yeah, and they got a telco expo. They rented a massive place, and George was here actually because of the CC forum.
yep.
So George and I, actually, no, sorry, it's wrong. It was not George. It was Dr. Marwan, the guy from the Dubai Blockchain Center, the dude from the government. He was here
Yep.
in June last year, and there was a conference. We went there to the conference, and then we saw there was 5G conference as well on Excel. So we called George and said, George, can you talk to your friends here about if we can go to the meetings there, because we wanted to understand a bit more of their rollout plans and so on. We went, George called to the people here, and we went, they already were waiting for our badges. We went to pretty much over 3 hours to most of the meetings where they were the CEO over the phone. I mean, there was all of them there, really,
Lots of
And
people. Hey,
yeah, and I
Fernando,
was shocked.
Fernando, I
I
was
was
just going
shocked.
to stop you just for a moment. It's just Lavinia's joined us, and I just want to say hi to Lavinia and thanks for coming in.
Hi, Lavinia.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. Looking forward
Hello.
to more.
That's good. We don't have many people on at the moment. It's kind of weird. Quite often we find about 1/4 people start hooking in. So whether it's they have connection problems or they forget or whatever, but we'll see how it goes. Conversation right now, we're just talking about the other topic that is interesting people over and above COVID at the moment, which is 5G and the rollout. So Fernando's just saying about the exhibition he was at Excel last year. So Fernando, do carry on.
Yeah, so some of the things that they were talking about were about the masts, and they needed to have a lot of masts, and the reason why, because the frequency is not as strong as other frequencies, so they have to lay down more masts, and like every 100 meters or so. I can't remember exactly what it was, but in none of the discussions there I remember them about laying down anything on pavement, So I'm quite surprised that I'm seeing some of those videos of people tracking stuff,
It's kind of interesting as well, because locally where I live, they've recently, in the last 6 months, installed new parking sensors. And the parking sensors are in all the parking bays, which are on the main high street. And you look at them and you go, it's kind of interesting. I wonder if that's just a sensor just for parking, or whether it's a transmitter for other things. And you go down sort of all sorts of conspiracy routes to this point, and you go, that kind of looks a bit like those 5G transponders or whatever that people are talking about that being laved into pavement. So we'll see. But there's so many conspiracies going on right now about so many things. I really just don't know what to believe.
Yeah, but the thing that you were saying about if radiation really has an impact on cells, on human body, yeah, which it does, we know it does, yeah, then I wonder if it doesn't actually make immune systems a lot weaker, you know.
Well,
And
that ties in with the conversation I was trying to push through on one of the groups this morning about how it is previously I thought 5G as in traditional microwave level radiation, so non-ionizing, but can cause problems. But when you start linking it in with things at a molecular level of can it start affecting how the iron atoms work, or sorry, how the iron content works, in a way that it changes the ability for a red blood cell to retain oxygen, that ties in just so well with the problems that they're finding with COVID-19, where they're having to reoxygenate blood because it's kind of like carbon monoxide poisoning, if I understand correctly, that the red blood cells are unable to retain the oxygen, and that's what's causing some of these lung problems. And that's why people are going onto respirators to give them a supplementary oxygen. And when that doesn't work, they're having to put them onto ECMO, which is where they actually, I believe, they transfuse the blood out, reoxygenate it, and push it back in again. So it just feels like it's linking with that something. Let's bring Lavinia back in anyway. Lavinia, what are you up to at the moment? Anything exciting?
Um, there's always something exciting happening. The sun is shining, that's always exciting. But to touch on your conversation about 5G, someone was saying that in South Korea, they have the highest 5G mass, and their coronavirus numbers are lower than Iran, who have a lower number of 5G mass. So that conspiracy theory doesn't make sense. If there's such a high number, Iran has had a high number of deaths, but they don't have as many 5G mass as South Korea, and they have a lower number. So how does that work out?
I agree, and I think this is where, when you start to look at some of the numbers, the theory doesn't quite stack up with the practice. So if you look at in the UK, how many 5G masts there are versus how many there are that are active, I think there are very few that are actually active at the moment. So that would just not explain stuff. But it depends how far you want to push this as a kind of a concept. That I know Fernando and I have been discussing how. With the coronavirus, there's probably about 8 different mutations of it at the moment. So it could be that some of them are related to this and some of them aren't.
So what I would say, I mean, I personally think this is a man-made thing, to be quite honest. It doesn't make any sense other than it to be man-made. But I don't know enough, so I try not put my focus, my energy on something that I can't resolve or like understand, so to speak. It's quite overwhelming. But touching on what you asked me, I mean, just trying to keep positive, as you know, in the groups, keep the groups engaged and lively and upbeat. But you know, of course, we all know this is quite challenging times for a number of people. They're losing their livelihoods, they're losing loved ones, their life and the perspective that they had on life is going to be so different post COVID. I mean, I'm sure you've discussed this already in these calls, Gary, but I'm quite intrigued. I was on a call yesterday. I was asked to give a presentation to a group of ladies in Panama, South America, And one of the questions that came up is, do I think COVID-19, what is blockchain doing to help COVID-19, or to, will blockchain be more prominent after COVID-19? And I was like, that's a difficult question to ask, because there's many aspects of blockchain, as you know. So what are we talking about? Medical, agriculture, finance? What are your thoughts?
I don't think it's going to make any difference, because I think a lot of the time people are just using the blockchain word as the new cure-all. I used to describe it as the magical pixie dust that you spread out, and blockchain will solve this and blockchain will solve that. Blockchain is just a technology. And
Yeah.
most of the time, when you're talking about things like supply chain challenges or medical record challenges or anything like that, technology is neither the cause or the solution. Usually, it's actually bureaucracy and it's process that's the challenge. So, but blockchain's great at capturing and recording data, or rather, it's good at recording data. It's not so good at capturing it. And most of the time, for most projects I've seen, blockchain doesn't add anything whatsoever. You can do most things with a database or whatever. So I describe myself as a blockchain luminary, in that I try to cast a lot of light onto this blockchain space. I don't claim to be an expert, but I know enough about it. And 95% of the time, whenever I see something where someone says, oh, we could use blockchain for this, actually, you could use a database or a spreadsheet or whatever. Blockchain really doesn't add anything. So I'm one of the greatest advocates for blockchain, whilst at the same time being one of the greatest dissenters, because I want it to be used for the right reason, in the right way, at the right time. And I think there's too many examples right now of it being used in the wrong way, and that just harms it, because eventually it'll fail, and people will say, oh, that's the technology's fault, when it's actually the application of the technology that failed.
Right. So I didn't know you was part of CryptoAM.
I'm helping James in that. Originally, when he set up the CryptoAM COVID-19 WhatsApp group, and he asked me to help moderate that. And so I started moderating that, and then I kicked off these daily catch-ups. And then he said, oh, can we have some branding in there as well? So if I do it right, there's the branding. I think it's the right way around. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's always confusing when you're using a reverse screen in some way and you're looking at yourself in a reverse thing. So just it's part supporting that. But James is doing a great job. You've seen how he's taken CryptoAM online. So they've now gone totally digital, and they've now got a website and everything, which is fantastic. So James pops in sometimes, joins us on this, but usually it's just me running it with whoever happens to be around.
Okay, so I need to go to cryptoam.io to find out the latest updates of the CryptoAM newspaper, correct?
That's correct. And James also puts into many of the WhatsApp and Telegram groups a hyperlink to the PDF version, or sorry, it's not the PDF version anymore, to the actual page or to the site now, yeah.
So what's happening with CityAM then? Is that just totally separate then?
You need to check with James the specifics around that. I'm not close enough to it.
Sure, no problem. Just asking. All right. So so I did a webinar yesterday to a group of Panamanian or Panamarian. I'm not really sure. What would it be? Panamanian or Panamanian?
South American.
Wow, you can't bunch one civic group of women as just South American, can you?
So there's a great question for you. That ties in really, really well with the whole diversity and inclusion things.
There you go.
Why do we have so many groups which are things like Women for Africa? Because from what I can remember from my school days, Africa's something like 26 countries.
That is very true. But this is the thing. People are connected how they're connected, and being a European, I am a European. I know I stand out like a sore thumb when I'm in the Caribbean or in Africa. So yes, Africa is a continent, but if you have that connecting element, that thing that, glues you together, then it's just a safe space. I mean, that's not to say you can't have women of Nigeria or women of Ghana. You know, people could do what they want, right? It's a democratic world. So some people want to just claim the whole continent, and some people want to claim a country.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I only asked you the question because I knew you'd be up for answering it, and you're in a good place on that as well. Because I always find it interesting. That's why I kind of baited you a little bit there when you said, "How would you describe Panamania?" and said South America, because I went straight into the let's just hit this is an entire continent.
Oh, you manipulative so and so.
I consider it positive influence.
Yeah, but you didn't answer my question. What would it be? Because I know you're a clever clog. So what would it be?
I don't know, Fernando. You probably know the answers to this, don't you?
I didn't hear the question. Can you say again, Lavinia?
Yeah, I did a presentation to a group of women from Panama. So what would they be? Panamanian? Panoramian? How would you, just like you have British there, or Britons or British, how would you describe?
I think it's Panamanians.
Panamanians. Okay. All right.
Panamanians, cool. I think.
So yeah, so I did a presentation to them, and yeah, Gary, you know that I've been nominated for a diversity award for Women in Blockchain Talks, community in gender.
Excellent.
Yep. And so I'm kind of pushing that at the moment, and then I've got Women in Blockchain Talks next week, Wednesday, I think it is. So that's
where are you
kind of
at the moment? Are you in London at the moment?
Yes, I am based in London, Fernando.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
In South London. Do you know it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. No, most people know London, but
one of the things now that you guys are talking about Africa, one of the things I'm involved is probably, I think it's probably the best project for Africa at the moment. It's called Bouto Tribe. Yeah, just Google it, Lavinia. Bouto Tribe.
So spell it first.
Ubuntu. You know what means Ubuntu?
Oh, UBUNTA or you?
You. Ubuntu. It's an African word. Yeah.
Okay.
It's also a flavor of Unix, or Linux rather.
Well, yeah. The French that created Ubuntu, they took the word from Africa because it's an African word. Yeah.
Okay.
And it means something like we are together, yeah, or we all come from the same place. That's what it means.
Okay.
And Ubuntu Tribe, it's really about bringing to Africa a digital currency that is backed by gold.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it is supported by 30 countries in Africa. Mamadou is the guy that created Africa 2.0. So he is the guy that is leading the project. It is really his project. Mm-hmm. Mamadou Touré, and he is an amazing guy, to be truly honest. You know, I was having a chat with him today. Poor guy. It's 3 weeks ago, Gary. Almost 3 weeks ago. It's going to the 4th week now. He traveled to Dubai to have a meeting with some potential investors that want to buy gold, and he got stuck there, and he's still there.
Wow.
Because he is from Ghana, but he lives with his wife in Côte d'Ivoire, in Ivory Coast. Yeah, and Ivory Coast close airports and borders. Emirates close all the flights. And for 3 weeks, the guy is just stuck in Dubai.
Wow. That's a story to tell his grandkids, eh?
Yeah, indeed. So I've been talking with him. I'm trying to help him with all my connections in Dubai. So he's okay now, you know. But he said there's quite a lot of people that happen to them like that in Dubai, you know. And the thing is, because he's not he's not a national from Ivory Coast, he was not repatriated. Yeah, so it's just insane. But anyway, that's a very good project, Lavinia. If you're looking for examples and there's someone really amazing from Los Angeles involved as well. She's she has a project for a digital currency in the US, in California, just for the African American people. So the target is African American people. She's African American, and she has 8 kids, and she has done all of it by herself. All of it. What you see, I'll send you the details after the call. Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to be amazed. I don't understand how she does it, to be truly honest, you know. So she created her own blockchain. She created the app herself, the website herself, the whole business model, everything herself in 18 months. Yeah. And she has she has 8 kids. I was like, oh my gosh.
Does she have help? She must have help.
I'll send to you, Gary, as well. It's very, very interesting project, and I don't know how she said it's all legal, and I don't know what did she found in American laws or in California laws that allows us to do that, you know. But it is live now. Well, beta in beta testing, you know.
Shows what you can do when you put your mind to it. Definitely.
And yeah,
that's fantastic. That's brilliant. Folks, it's coming towards 1:30, and we only have 30 minutes on this session because I haven't upgraded to my pro version of Zoom yet, so they kind of limit the call. Do you have any quick things you'd like to share, or any questions or anything just before we close this session today? Lavinia, I'll ask you first.
I was it's just why do you think some of the governments are already thinking about first week of May? Why do you think they are already? Are they rushing, or I don't get it, Gary? It's too early, I think.
I think it's twofold. I think they're beginning to see trends in the data that don't actually exist, and so they're assuming that means that we're past the worst of it already. And I think that they're being heavily influenced by a realization that this is economically devastating unless they respond and react quickly, and they're now beginning to do a risk-based approach of what is the impact to the country and to the economy and to the businesses of remaining in lockdown versus accepting a degree of fatalities. I think it's a simple trade-off, and a lot of people don't understand that in life and in government and in public sector, you do actually put a price on a life. This is how the NHS works. It's how an airplane flight is priced, because you could make an airplane perfectly safe, but it would cost such a ridiculous amount to do it. And so I think they put in place a price, and they work out and they figure out, well, actually, if we accept an increase in deaths, but the trade-off is we save our economy, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. Collateral damage, as they say.
Yep. So, folks, with that cheery note, I'm going to close off the call for the day.
I'm going to play to you now very quickly the link to the site. Have a look before you close it, yeah, of that woman. Yeah, she's pretty amazing, you know, Tavonia Evans.
That's great.
Okay, cool. I'm having a look.
GrabCoin, that's great. Okay, folks, have a great day.
Okay,
thank you for joining us today. And as I always close off, don't forget, now wash your hands.
Take care.
All right,
Good
bye.
day.
Bye.